Dude, so this has been our relationship has been a wild journey. Um, I don't know if you want to tell the story. If you want to start with like how we met, or maybe you could tell your side. I'll tell mine. But um, I mean, we've been friends now for like what 3 years?
At least maybe three and a half, four. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember this is cool for me because I was thinking about this on the car right over here because this is the first podcast I'm doing. But like in terms of self development and personal growth, you're like the first person I met in the industry. I guess you could say. I don't
Hmm.
want to say industry, but like in social media. So I was thinking, I'm like, maybe I could do a sequential order with this podcast where it's like if I can remember everyone I met in order and have conversations with them, that would be totally unrealistic. But yeah. So I met you. So you've been coaching me for everyone at home listening to this or watching this. Joe's been my performance coach for 3 years now. Coached me through the whole bear crawl, which most of you guys probably know me for. And you're just an awesome dude. You're so interesting. You're so fast. You're probably the most disciplined person I've ever met. And I made this joke with Brendan in the car, and I want to start it off like this to set the mood. But I have a question I think everyone wants to know, but nobody may ask. Have you ever slept in? Do you sleep in? You've never hit snooze?
I've hit snooze. Yeah. I'll set the record straight. I hit snooze from time to time. The snooze though is usually like a 3:30 to a 3:35 snooze. So I'm up out of bed pretty quick after that. There's something in me, like ever since I was a kid, I remember getting up early, 4:35, 5:36, whatever, going to my parents' room and my parents telling me to go back to bed. And I'd go back to bed with my eyes wide open and just wait until they would get up. And my dad told me when I was a teenager, he was like, someday you're just going to want to sleep in and you're going to have kids and they're going to want to get up early. And you're just going to be like, man, this sucks. Like, I remember when I bugged my parents about it. I don't think that's ever going to happen. There's something about getting up early before the rest of the world is awake that just like fires me up. And I was walking to the gym the other morning at like 4, and I was on one side of the sidewalk with my hood up, my backpack on. And I saw this guy on the other side of the sidewalk, and I thought to myself, like, what a creep! Like, what is this guy doing out at 4 a.m.? Like, I realized that's me. So I snooze from time to time, but not often. And if I do, I'm still up before the sun.
Yeah. So I feel like you have there's a lot of people relying on you. Like there's so many people relying on you. And one thing I've struggled with too is like, even with people relying on me, I find it hard to make time for myself. But like you seem to consistently make time for yourself. Like, what's your routine like? So what time does your workday start versus your personal time? You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
So usually on a weekday, wake up around 3:30 in the morning, 3:30 to 4, somewhere in that range. I just go right to the gym these days. So gym's down the road, maybe like 3 minutes. I'll hop on the treadmill. I'll journal on my phone while I'm on the treadmill. Maybe listen to a podcast for a couple minutes while I scroll Instagram. I have this habit of wishing people happy birthdays on Facebook. So Facebook, if I'm friends with you on Facebook, I wish you a happy birthday. If you're not on Facebook, I probably forget your birthday every year. So I'll do that while I'm on the treadmill. I'll work out for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Usually come home, do my run to fulfill the run streak. I eat some food and then I usually drive into the city about 15 minutes to train my first client. I almost always have an in-person client at 7 a.m. in the city. So I'll do that. From there, my day is just off to the races. And, we talk at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays, but I have clients on the phone for the most part, phone or Zoom, until 7, 8 p.m. every day in the evening. And I'm taking Theo for walks on my breaks, shoveling down food whenever I can. And then 8 p.m. comes around, I shower, hop downstairs, spend an hour or so with Michaela, and then go to bed. And that's my week for the most part until we get to Friday night.
So would you say it's safe that you just don't do anything you don't want to do? Obviously, aside from like your thing is do hard things.
Yeah.
People can't see it; it's up here at home. But so you're obviously you're choosing to do things that you don't want to do. But I think there's a point of life that's at a certain point we just want to do things that we want to do or we love to do. Is there a line
Yeah.
for you? Or do you only say yes to things now that you want to do, or do you still do things to humble yourself? Maybe like, work at 7-Eleven on like a Saturday night. Like I could still make more money, I could work overnight, like there's a fine line between like that hustle and grind versus
Yeah.
I've not gonna say I've made it, but you know what I mean?
This might make sense to you. I'm not sure. But I find a lot of enjoyment in delayed gratification. So the act of delaying gratification or sacrificing or suffering, I actually enjoy that feeling. When I was a kid, my family would go to the beach in the summers, and my parents would give me, my brother, and sister $10 to go play games, and my brother would blow it in like 5 minutes and then cry because he lost it all. My sister would, space it out. And then we get to the end of the night, and I'm an 8-year old and I have $10 still in my pocket. And my parents would ask me, are you going to play games? And I'd be like, no, I'm going to save it. And it was that feeling that I've always had of like, this feels good to know that I'll have it later. And that's a money example, but I've always had that with work. And for me, having a full calendar gives me that same feeling. And so at the end of a, 12, 14, 15-hour day, I'm exhausted. I'm not going to lie. I do get run down from time to time, but it feels so fulfilling because I know that down the road, it's going to pay dividends in terms of setting me, Michaela, our future family up for success. And also just knowing that I gave my best that day feels good. And I think if I'm being really honest, I'm just terrified of the alternative. I'm an extremist, and I'm afraid if I'm not at this extreme, then I'll end up at the other extreme.
I can relate to that. Um, so I know for myself, I have a very vivid picture and some words that I won't say on camera of the type of person, the alternative.
Yeah.
What is the Who is the alternative? Like when you wake up, are you thinking about are you like, you could be a visual person, or I know you
Mhm.
journal and a lot and stuff like that, but what does that person look like? Like, who is the alternative of Joe Rinaldi? Like, what are the things that stick out to you about that person that you don't want to be, that pushes you to, do the things that you do?
Yeah. The closest to the alternative that I think I've ever come was in high school. Like a lot of people, I was insecure and I wanted to be liked by everybody. And there were certain groups of people I really wanted to be a part of. So I played football, and, part of that culture was go out on the weekends and party. And so sophomore year, more so junior and senior year, go play football, work hard, and then to earn the approval of other people to kind of be liked by others. I would go out and party and drink a lot. I've never had one drink in my entire life. All throughout high school, it was either I wasn't out partying or I was blackout drunk, coming home, throwing up in my parents' bushes, coming inside, waking my parents up, throwing up in the bathroom, hungover for, the whole next day, maybe even the next day. And I did that because that was what everybody else did. And I found myself just going with that flow. And I didn't have the self confidence to pull myself out of that because deep down I knew I didn't want to be that person. But that was the extreme I found myself in. So when I went to college, I walked onto the football team because I was really missing that structure of sport and just the camaraderie of being on a team. And when I walked onto the football team, that kind of coincided with this season of, you're a freshman in college, you're trying to find your place, and there's a lot of drinking and partying. And I just had this one night where, I went out, blacked out, drank way too much, woke up in the middle of the night just choking on vomit, and realized that was it. That was the last time I ever wanted to drink, and that was the last time I ever wanted to do something just because I thought it was what other people wanted me to do. And so that was when I really started living life the way I wanted to live it, which was lonely for a period of time. It was me in the library at midnight on a Friday. It was me in the gym at 11 p.m. on a Saturday while everybody else was out partying. And, it was hard. I definitely felt alone. I questioned whether that was the right path. And that was the beginning of me going to that extreme. And I've pulled back a little bit from that, and I've brought other people into my life. But that's the transition for me. It was high school to college.
So you have one specific point you can pinpoint of like that was when everything changed.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever told this story on a podcast or social media, but I lived in a quad freshman year. So it was me and three other guys in a, you know, 10-foot by 20-foot room. It was real small. Me and my three roommates all got along on the surface, but me and two of my roommates didn't really like the fourth. He was just arrogant, not a nice person. And he was bragging this one night about how much he could drink. And so I'm a competitive person as well. And so I told him, let's sit down, let's take a shot every 5 minutes until one of us can't do it anymore. And we took 15 or 16 shots, and I took a 16th or 17th just to kind of stick it to him. And then we went out, and I don't remember anything after that until I woke up, choking on some vomit, and
What were you
that was it.
drinking?
It was probably the cheapest vodka you could possibly buy. It was
Some
like
vodka. Yeah,
it was
that's
like a
no good.
plastic jug of vodka. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, I was the same way. I found myself trying to be that. I had to like prove my thing was with sports, and I would be curious to see if you felt that same way in sports, where it was like I wanted to be the guy on and off the field that was like, yo, I can do anything. So it's like I will drink myself into oblivion, and I'll get up the next morning and like nothing happened, like I'm good, and meanwhile inside, I'm dying inside.
Mm.
But I can't go back to a certain point in time where I was like, maybe I just forget, but I can't go back to a certain point of time where I was like, okay, I need to be different. I need to change.
Mm.
Because even when I met you, it was, I was already on, like, I was already past the point of like, I knew I wanted to change, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so what would you like? So I guess my point being is like, what would you, because you're a coach now, you
Mm.
coach tons, you coach so many people.
Yeah.
Um, I see you more as like a life coach. You know, I don't
Mm.
want to. I hate to put
Yeah.
you in that box because you're so much more than that. And but a life coach in terms of like, and I know you'll appreciate this, but like it's a coach that's like you're a more of like a I'll meet you where you are coach, where it's like you were my life coach, you coached me like fitness wise for a little bit, then now it's business, so many things. But how many people do you work with on a daily basis that are in that point of I don't know where to go like you were, you know? And like what would you say to that person that's in that point now of like, dude, I just fucking blacked out last night. I don't want to I hate this feeling. I don't want to be there. The anxiety's ridden. What do you say to that person? You know, how do you coach them out of that or what would you how do you talk to that person?
Yeah. I mean, you know my style. I ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I like questions. I think that to a certain extent, everybody has a little bit of what they're looking for already inside of them. And so I feel like my job is to help pull that out of them. And, it really depends. But I think at the end of the day, right, regret is one of the worst feelings I could possibly imagine. And if you look at study after study or interview after interview of people who are on their deathbed, one of the top things that they'll always say is, I wish I lived a life that was truer to me. I wish I was more authentic. And, living a life that's not your life, that's not authentic to you, you're missing out on the gift of life because only you can live the life that you can live. And it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of boldness. It takes risking losing people who are currently in your life, and that could be scary. But at the end of the day, it's a Dr. Seuss quote: those who matter won't mind, and those who mind don't matter. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I hope that I can be an example for people who are drawn to the way that I live life, that it is possible and that there are other people out there. Because I remember what it was like freshman year of college when I was alone in that library. I didn't have other people that were doing what I wanted to do. I didn't know that there were other people who saw the world the way that I saw the world. And since then, social media has been such a blessing for me because it's allowed me to connect with other people who do see that. And I know you've heard this quote maybe from me, but Friedrich Nietzsche said, those who dance are considered insane by those who can't hear the music. And I hope those people can realize eventually that the music they're listening to or they're hearing on the inside, if it's different from the music that everybody around them is listening to or hearing, that's okay. You just have to find the people that are listening to your music and they're out there. And I think once you can find one or two of those people, it becomes a little bit easier to step outside of that circle you don't want to be in toward the next circle that you do want to be in.
Yeah. I love that quote too. And I think there's a certain point, and I wonder if you can relate to this too, because I feel like you don't. We all know you as like this super nice individual, but there's a point for me that I got to in my journey where I was like, I don't even want people to understand, right? Like
Mm.
you don't want people to hear the music. Like I want to be so crazy that you don't even you don't even know what music is, you know?
Mm.
Do you ever feel like that? Like, do you have moments where you're like back, not I want to say back against the wall, but where something has happened to you, or you got to a point in your journey where like, no, I love, like you said, you had I know what you're thinking about on the way to the gym in the morning with your hood up. Like you put yourself back in those times of like, nobody can hear the music and I don't want them to hear it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Do you have moments that like that in your life, or have you had a moment like that in your life where you're just like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I don't even care if people hear it or not. Like, this is what I'm doing. Right.
Yeah, I think the past couple of years for me have been an exercise of being more and more okay with being misunderstood.
Mhm.
There's a great book that I just started reading called The Courage to be Disliked. And I think it does take a lot of courage to be disliked, to be misunderstood, to do your own thing. And to your point of having that hood up, I do see myself as a nice person and I am kind. I make a big effort to go out of my way and love others well. But at the same time, there is this darker side of me that definitely comes out from time to time. And for a long time, that was in sport. I loved throwing on the football gear and the helmet and being able to tackle people. I mean, there's a reason I played football and there's a reason I was on defense because I loved that feeling of being able to be aggressive and to go hit and to go run and to do those things. And, now in this season of my life, it's entrepreneurship. And, early on, especially, one of the things that I loved and hated was that feeling of having a pit in your stomach because it feels like what you're building is just a house of cards and it could collapse at any second. I had mornings early on where you wake up and you have 15 clients and 3 of them text you and say, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened. I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. And you sit on your couch and you cry a little bit, or you feel like you want to curl up in a ball and you can't go on with your day. And you take a deep breath and you stand up tall and you go outside and you go through your day. And by the end of the day, you've somehow picked up 2, 3 new clients. I love that feeling of knowing that so many other people would quit in those scenarios and that I won't. And I think there's ego attached to that. And, I hope that I can be humble throughout my life, but I also am very aware that I have the side of me that wants to be better than other people and stand out and do things that others won't. And when times get tough, that side of me comes out and just thinks, so many people would stop right here and I'm not going to.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways we can go with this. Because I, that's how I feel all the time. I almost put myself in those scenarios. I'm like, I just want to be so different. But like, what? Like, how do I say this? Like, I'm in that position now where I've built my business to, and I'm only 25. How old are you? You're
29.
29. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like
I had
crazy.
to think
It's
about it
wild.
for a sec.
It's
Yeah.
wild that you're 29. I feel like you're like, I don't know. For some reason, it's like 35 pops into my head, but I feel like that's just where you're so mature.
Mm.
You're so clear on where you want to go in life to me. So I'd be curious to even hear like
Mm.
if you have doubts currently of like where you want to go or what you want to do. But I'm at a point in my life right now where I'm making more money than I ever have with a business that I didn't even know I was going to have, and I'm starting to get to the point now where everything was hot for like 6, 7 months, and then like you said, you wake up, one person doesn't have the budget for it anymore, or this person maybe they found somebody that will do it for cheaper, or things happen, right? And I'm getting to that point now where I'm like, oh my god, it's happening. My business is crumbling. Like I knew it was too good to be true. Why? And then like you said, right, a client comes along and one person dumps you, and then the next you get a text message from someone you haven't heard from in 3 months, and they're like, hey, I have a referral for you.
Mm.
Why do you think that happens? Like, what is there's no rhyme or reason? Is like, how do you even navigate those waters? So like, somebody to me as a 25-year-old, like, does that feeling ever go away of like my business is going to crumble, or do you just like, what I mean? Does it ever go away?
I've got 3 years of it under my belt. I don't think it goes away. At least it hasn't yet. It still happens. Actually, if I'm being honest, I have one of those seasons right now. And it's funny talking about it with you because I can zoom out and I've been reflecting on this. When I left my physical therapy job, I was making about the same as what I was making as a physical therapist. Fast forward, 3 years, I've 6x that. And on a month where that goes down by, 2%, I get that feeling. It floods back in of like this house of cards is going to collapse. Whereas if I put it in perspective and look back 3 years, I'm like, man, I'm crushing it,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of those temporary dips on that path up and to the right. But in the moment, it feels like that. And I think that fear, being able to acknowledge it as something that drives me forward, has been really helpful. And being able to just stick with it long enough to know that it does get better. I was having a conversation with a client of mine who's a salesperson. And I asked him, how do you know when a new salesperson comes into the business if they're going to be successful or not? And he said, to be honest, it's really hard but you can tell when somebody's going to be good when they can get kicked in the face and then show up to work the next day. And that's the quality that I think I want to embrace throughout life, not just in business, is can you get kicked in the face, knocked to the ground, and can you get back up and show up, because so many other people won't. And I think that's what's allowed me to get to year 3 and hopefully year 6 and 9 and 12. And I don't think that feeling will ever go away, but I do think it gets a little less and less frequent, and it lasts for a little bit less each time because you've been through it before.
Yeah. So you necessarily don't be, I mean, you become better at navigating those scenarios, like that's one thing I've realized, especially with clients where, um, you shy away from certain conversations or difficult conversations, or, you shy away from maybe a certain plan that you have in place because you're like, oh, maybe it's not going to work, or you start to overthink things. Like, I feel like something that's very admirable about you is like you. I don't know if I've ever seen you. And again, I'm not. You're always listening to my issues. I'm not listening to yours. I'm not your coach. But you're always calm, cool, and collective. Like you trust that you'll land on your feet. Like if everything got taken from you tomorrow, you'd be cool.
Yeah, cool is a interesting word. I mean, on the inside, I don't think I would feel cool. On the outside, I think I would attempt to appear that way. Part of that is also just being a husband and, having a dog and feeling responsible for how other people are watching me navigate this world. And that's a responsibility I've chosen for myself. And it does feel like pressure, but I feel like it's a positive pressure. So, yes, on the inside, there are times that are chaotic. There are those mornings where I have that pit in my stomach. But I choose to walk forward with my, shoulders back and head up because I know others are watching and depending on me. And I also know that that feeling will, not last forever. And to your point, I mean, there's a great quote. I don't know whose it is, but true wealth is who you would be if you lost everything, or true wealth is what you would have if you lost everything. And, like for me, that's where faith comes in, because I do trust that everything will be okay, no matter what happens in this world. And I hesitate to even say this out loud because part of me is fearful that it would come true. But I do believe, if I'm being honest in my heart, if I lost everything, business, money, relationships, everything, I would still be okay. It would hurt. It would suck. It would be so hard, but I would make it through. And that composure is something I choose, not something that just happens. And I think that's one of, it's a superpower that I'm trying to grasp onto, is just the power of choice, because we can choose how we show up any given day, any given scenario. And composure is one of the things that I strive to choose.
How do you keep those things conscious though? Because I'm somebody that maybe I have ADD, or I don't know. I'm so moving forward in my life and there's so many moving parts that it's like I don't even have a list of things.
Mm.
Like if someone asks, okay, describe the person you would want to be, I'd probably be able to answer it, but I wouldn't be able to give you like, yo, I have these 5 things. I feel like you have those kind of 5 things, or however many there are, of how you want to show up, right? Like composed.
Mm.
One, do you have a list? And two, how do you keep it in the forefront of your brain?
Yeah. So I've had lists at various points in my life. There's a board that's off screen here, but I've Post-it notes everywhere with reminders and words, and I'm a big quote guy. And so I've made those lists and done those exercises. But to be honest, I don't think of any of those on a day-to-day basis. There's a quote off screen behind you. It's The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt, which we were talking about prior to the podcast. And that's really the image that I have in mind more often than not, is this gladiator, this person in the middle of an arena. There's dirt, there's dust, there's sweat, there's blood, and there's all these people in the seats. And those people paid money to watch this person get eaten by a lion, killed by another gladiator, whatever it is. But that gladiator in the middle of the arena, that's the person I want to be, because that is the person taking action. That's the person doing the work. That's the person striving to be a better version of themselves, not the people who are sitting in the cheap seats. And so it's that image of being in the middle of the arena. And I'll take this a step forward. We're recording this 2 days before the Project Endure event 2024. And last year's event, 2023, was amazing. We had about 125 people there from all over the country. And it was just such a whirlwind of a day in such a positive way. And after the fact, I was reflecting, I was looking through some of the pictures, and there was this one picture where we did this exercise of everybody holding hands around the outside of the room. And the exercise was to squeeze your partner's hand until the impulse got back around. And I'm standing in the middle, and there just so happens to be like a light kind of on me. So there's this man in the arena with these people around him.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this whole time, I've always envisioned those people in the arena wanting me to lose for whatever reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the dark side. And in that picture, it's, you know, it's you, it's my family, it's my friends, it's my clients, it's people that want this to succeed.
Yeah.
And I realized that the arena for me actually is people cheering. And that just totally flipped my image of the man in the arena on its head, because now I feel responsible to show up more for those people who want me to win.
Yeah, that's so fascinating because that just brought so much perspective into my life because I'm just like, I'm always the guy that's like, yo, when I'm in the arena, everyone's gonna be throwing shit at me, you know, like, boo. But like to your to what you're doing this weekend, I want to talk about it. It's like a lot more of us have probably a lot more people that want us to win than don't want us to win, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And that shows with you. I mean, maybe it hasn't always been this way because obviously, like, you know, you don't have, that's not one of your favorite quotes for a reason where, you know, if you're crazy, you can't, or only those who are crazy can hear the music, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm probably misquoting it. But, so you're having the event, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you think we're going to show? I know you said a number off camera, but
Somewhere between 250 and 300.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that doesn't just happen overnight,
Yeah.
right? But how do you get 300 people in one room? How have you done that?
If I'm being honest, the first thing that pops into my head is I don't know. I don't know how it happened. But if I reflect a little bit further, you know, like when I decided to leave my job to create this, I've been reflecting a lot on what I'm going to say at the event. Like I didn't have this grand detailed vision for what this would all become. I just knew what I wanted to feel, and the feeling that I had last year, the feeling that I'll have on this event day, that's what I've been building toward, is that feeling of like love and support and excitement and encouragement. And so I've been building toward that feeling. And with that in mind, the vision has been developing, right? The whole time, every day, week, month, every new client interaction, every gathering, I get a little bit more clear on what it is that I want. And as I step further and further toward that, my goal is just to bring good people into the mix. And it's one good person leads to another, and that person knows another good person, and they invite a friend. And it's been beautiful to watch this grow. And I can see the dots connected now for, you know, how that person got to the event, how this person got there. But as you're going, you don't know. And I think part of it for me has been, you know, learning how to speak about what it is that I'm envisioning, learning how to talk about Project Endure and why it's important to me, because that has been hard, to be honest. I think because it's been developing in my head this whole time, but also just being a good person and showing up for other people and them returning the favor. And I think once you give people a good experience, they're more likely to come back. And so it's just been this process of collecting good human beings around what I see as a meaningful mission and an ever developing vision.
Yeah. I mean, you're literally the testament to word of mouth because, like, I'll bring you in. We got
Yeah,
one
we got
kid
cooking.
laying on the floor over here that I brought to you. I wish you guys could see this off camera, but yeah. I mean, you you have a very. I would be curious to hear your thoughts on social media again because, like, obviously, I do work in social, and marketing. It has a lot to do with gathering a community of that number
Yeah.
of people. But your message has been consistent on social for so long, and for
Mm.
somebody like myself, it's been so hard to find my lane or like, you know, and I hate to say because it's like if I was to speak to a client, it'd be like, you know, you're putting out your current circumstance, and if that changes, you just keep updating it and updating, updating. It's like a documentation of your life. But
Mhm.
I haven't seen the behind the scenes. I mean, before I met you, how long were you on social media for?
I've been on social media since 2014. So yeah,
So 6 years before. That's a long time. That's
yeah,
longer than
7 or
I've even
8.
tried
Yeah.
to post. What has your journey been like on social media? Like your growth? I mean, you've had like a rapid growth like very recently,
Hmm.
but you were always around like that, like for numbers' sake, around like that 9,000 follower mark for a while since I
Hmm.
knew you until
Hmm.
recently. But conveying your message on social, I mean, has it always been the same since you started, or what's that journey been like for you?
It's actually funny that you asked this question because I was talking about it with somebody else. I got on social media in 2014, because my mentor through high school and beginning of college, he brought me into his business. It was a performance coaching business. So I was working with him, learning from him. And he was really big on social media, and he was encouraging me to start an account. And to be honest, I didn't really see the potential there in 2014. I don't think a lot of people did. I almost wish I just jumped in and took it a little bit more seriously. But I started posting very infrequently. I was down the path of exercise science, physical therapy. And so I was posting a lot of physical therapy related content. And I started to build this following, making really good connections. In the early days of Instagram were just pictures. You can like and comment on other people's posts, and they would all like follow you back. And it was this game for me. And this is my obsessive, addictive, extremist personality. But I would literally comment on other people's posts until Instagram locked me out. They'd be like, "You've reached your limit, like 24-hour," and then you come back and you.
They had a limit?
Yeah, they had a limit. It was probably like 100 comments. Like I would literally just like posts, follow people, probably unfollow people to get my ratio better. But I did
We
that.
all did that.
Yeah.
I used to have an app that would tell me who didn't follow me back, and I would unfollow them.
But I did that for a while. It worked. Grew my page to a couple thousand followers, and it was all fitness and rehab content. And this was around the time, say 2015, 2016 now, where I'm starting to realize I want to dive more into personal growth and the mental side of things. And so I decided to post a selfie for the first time ever, like my face. I'm so excited about it. I'm nervous. So I post it like, "This is who I am," like minus 400 followers. Like everybody unfollowed me. And it was this gut punch where initially I thought, man, like this is who I actually want to be on social media, because this is more of who I am. This is what I care about. People saw my face, now they're unfollowing me, and there was a lot of insecurity there. But I decided to stick with it, and I decided to view those people that unfollowed as, they're just the people that are not meant for me or my page, and that's okay. So now everybody who's still here, they want to be here, and that's great. So I started building, made more connections, and really as I was figuring out who I was just sharing more of that on social media, to your point. And, got to that 9,000 follower mark, was stuck there for a while, was just consistent for a while. And it was funny. This guy, Brian Pruitt, who I had on my podcast.
Baseball guy.
Yeah.
There's this one viral picture of him that he's a very good looking guy that went viral when he played at Coastal Carolina. And I'll never forget it. I got into a huge fight with my ex-girlfriend in college because she was like, "Yo, this kid's so hot." And I was like, "Yo, shut up. You can't, what do you mean? And I look just like him." I don't look just like him. But I know Brian.
That's funny.
I don't know him, but I know who he is.
Yeah. So he's a very encouraging guy. He's awesome. And he just messaged me, and he was like, "Dude," out of nowhere, he's like, "Dude, you're going to break that 10K mark like any day now." And I was just in my head, I was like, "Dude, get out of here. Like, I'm so tired of this. I've like had 1,000 posts on Instagram, like no traction in the past year. Like, I don't want to hear it." And like a week later, a video just took off, and I went from 9,000 to 29,000, 29,000 to 39,000. And I'm at that point now where it's stuck again. And I've stopped caring about what the algorithm does or how to play that game. But the point is, like, it took me 1,000 posts to kind of like break through that ceiling. And it just goes back to the consistency and the showing up and the not giving up. And that's why I care so much about that idea of just, you get knocked down, you get back up, you keep going. Because success is a war of attrition, the people who stop are the people who lose. And social media has been that for me.
Yeah, it's life in general. It's a time game. That's I tell a lot of my clients that too. Me and Cook we were at Chili's last night, and he has this rule where he said LeBron just. That's so funny. LeBron James said one time, like, you got to finish your food. Like, how you do anything is how you do everything. So he has this rule where he has to finish his food. We were at Chili's. He got defeated last night, and he couldn't finish it because we made our eyes bigger than our belly. And I said to the waitress, he was like looking down at his, he's like covering his face. And the waitress, he's like, "God, yeah, you can just take this away. Sorry, I'm so embarrassed. I just can't even look you in the eyes. Like, I have to finish my food." And I said to him, "Yo, no, we didn't lose, bro. We just didn't have enough time. If we had a little bit more time, we could have finished. Like, give it 30 minutes, you'll eat that food, take it home, and you finish your meal." Social media is the same thing, where it's like, for you, like, what I'm saying? You didn't know there's always, you don't know what the number is, but there's a random number out there that post is going to hit and it'll do well. And it's like if you didn't make it, it's just because you didn't have enough. You didn't either put enough into it. You didn't get the numbers. It's didn't have enough time. I feel like in life, business, anything,
Mhm.
that's the memo. It's like, all right, you either didn't do the right things or you need to do them for a little bit longer. Um, yeah. So I mean, how do you navigate social now? As I feel like there's a lot of unauthentic people. Like you were someone like you posted your face, right?
Mhm.
You lost 400 followers. A lot of people probably would have just now went back to dancing and said,
Yeah.
you know what, that didn't work. Screw it. Um, do you feel like a lot more people could succeed in the long term, or what is your stance on the way social people use social now? I mean, I know I hate it. I
Yeah.
don't really appreciate it.
Yeah.
A lot of people on social. It's kind of in the reason why I've stopped posting so much.
Yeah.
It's because I just kind of fell out of love with it. Because I'm like every single person I meet that I look up to on social media, I'm just like, man, you kind of stink, you know.
Uh-huh.
Um, so like, how do you navigate it authentically, even when it might not be working? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I have so many thoughts. I think one is like, it is frustrating to watch people who are just, hopping on a trend or, doing whatever just to get views and likes, and it works. That's frustrating for me to watch. And it's also sad at the same time. And I won't name names, but I think you and I have people in similar circles who we watch kind of do that thing. And it sucks to watch people sell out for
Yeah.
views and likes and attention. So that's one. I think two, I focus a lot more on engagement. And the thing that I love about social media is when you can have a genuine conversation or make a genuine connection. To go back to how we started the podcast, your mom
Mm-hmm.
messaging me on social media,
Yeah.
she's like relentless
Oh,
in a
dude.
good way, right? Like every day, like I get a podcast, and I love it.
Yeah.
But she was the person who connected us through social media,
Yep.
right? And we wouldn't be here in my house here in Philadelphia. I wouldn't know
Crazy.
cook, right? Without that. So I love the engagement piece, and I would much rather put up a post that leads to one genuine conversation or connection than get a million views on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two. And then, I think three, like I genuinely enjoy the creative process. I was the kid in high school and college who loved those motivational YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It's like B-roll of, boxing matches and football games, and Eric Thomas or somebody else is like their voice is over the background with some cool music. And now like I get to do that, and that's my style, and I love that. So I love the creativity, I love the connection, and at times it's still frustrating though to watch others do it differently.
Yeah. I think the important thing is like, yo, social media is not your business. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not your way of life. And that's one thing I've been thinking about recently too, where it's like, okay, I know a million things I could do on social media, but at the end of the day, this is not the thing that's going to make me money. It's not going to, I think people forget that, and I think that's one thing you've done well. It's like you've had that other thing where it works. It works in the opposite way people think. They think, okay, I'm going to go
Mm.
viral and then I'll have the business. It's like, no, you have the business and you post content to supplement it,
Yeah.
and you could stay authentic to yourself that way, because at the end of the day you go home and it's like, okay, well, whatever I do on social media, how I show up there is not going to affect my family, my livelihood, like I'm not going to lose my house because I have a business.
Yeah.
You have your priorities in line where it's like, okay, I'm going to be super authentic to who I am because that my business relies on the fact that I'm authentic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's one thing I've taken from you, which is really cool. It's just like, the social media is only going to supplement your business. It's
Yeah.
not that your business shouldn't come from there, because it's
Yeah.
like you said, like that. If you can live on one post, you could die on one post,
Yeah.
and that's scary. But in terms of, so I'm shooting the event for you this weekend,
Yeah.
which is cool. But like, so what's your like when you're planning this event, right? Like in terms of social, I know you obviously you have me, you have a couple of people that are coming down, but
Mm.
like, what's the goal of the weekend? Like, what message are you trying to relay? Like, what are you trying to get across through the content, through the event, through the interactions you have? Like, because you're going to talk to so many people this weekend.
Yeah. It'll be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the main thing is I've been trying to get more clear on what is Project Endure. And this is an internal struggle that I go through often. The mission of Project Endure is to help other people find strength in their struggle.
Mhm.
So we all go through hard times. We all face resistance in life, challenges, obstacles. I see that as an opportunity for growth, and I want other people to see that as an opportunity for growth. My first tattoo ever is a sprout. It's on my wrist, and it's the quote: "Sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but you've actually been planted." That's the message. the struggle that I go through is that when it comes to fitness coaching, which I do a lot of, in addition to the mindset, more lifestyle coaching, it doesn't necessarily translate one to one, especially when you're marketing it or you're throwing it on social media. People aren't coming to my page. They're seeing a lot of that kind of messaging. This is how you grow. This is how you change your perspective. But I'm not saying, this is how you get, add 5 pounds of muscle and run faster, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a disconnect in terms of that service we provide and the overall mission.
Interesting.
It is somewhat connected, but it's not direct. Like
Yeah.
our mission isn't to help people get stronger and faster.
No.
And our motto is do hard things. And I want to explain to people that doing hard things is important. Yes, because growth is uncomfortable. Yes, because what we want is on the other side of hard. But at the same time, that's really not what it's about. It's not about the outcome. It's about who we become. It's about what those hard things do to us as a person, how it changes us and helps us grow. And that's what this day is in a short period of time, in 6-7 hours. It's people doing hard things, having vulnerable conversations, making new connections, and having hopefully that spark where they see enough other people in the same place wanting the same thing, walking away, being able to commit to a better life just one step at a time, to go home wherever that is, whether it's in Philadelphia, New York, somewhere else, and feel inspired enough to take that next step, to do that thing that they've been putting off, and to be able to reach out to somebody else from the event for a little bit of support or accountability. That's the goal of this event. And from a business standpoint, the stronger that web of connection and support and community is, the better we do as a business, because it gives us credibility, not only in terms of, wow, all these people were here, but wow, this energy was here and I want more of that energy. I want more of that support, and we can get that through coaching. So it helps us as a business. And in terms of the media, right, I want people to walk away with memories. Like I want those moments to be captured so somebody can look back and remember what they felt, because that's powerful. What you do is like, you can have an experience. Thinking back to 2016, I was in a car accident. Somebody ran a stop sign, hit the front of my car. My car rolled. I'm grabbing onto the steering wheel. The airbag goes off. I could every time I talk about this, I feel like I smell the powder. Like I taste the airbag powder. And my car rolled multiple times. It all stopped. I thought my life was over. I was so sad. I got out of my car, stepped on the sidewalk, looked at my car totaled, realized I was okay, never felt better in my entire life. That feeling was gone in a week, it's gone. Yeah. But I look at that picture of my car that I took and it comes back.
Right.
And I want people to have those moments and to be able to look back and remember, man, I remember James. I met James at that event, or I had this special interaction with Cook, and now I'm fired up again. And I could keep doing this thing that I said I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me of a book you recommended me, The Power of Moments. You probably,
it's somewhere over here. Look at that.
There it is. Boom. Power of Moments. Yeah, I remember. You're the book guy. You don't have a book list, do you? You don't have.
I do. I actually do have an Amazon book list that I was.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that, because it's not about growth on social. It's not about anything else besides giving people an experience, and that's how the best results happen. Cook, do you know what time we're at over here, or no? How long we've been doing this? You can talk. It's okay.
Cook's
there is a thing of editing, but I'll probably leave it in.
Yeah, this is good.
How much time do we have left on that memory card?
19 minutes left.
Oh wow, so we're going for about an hour. Cool. Yeah, so we'll start to wrap. Are you what's going on?
It could be 19 seconds. We could be cut off at any second here.
Fuck, guys, this is
On the top where it says that.
26 left. I think.
Okay, so about 40 minutes.
Battery.
That's okay. That one's still on, rolling. That's good. You can walk in front of it.
Let's get Cook in here. Yeah,
we'll
let's
cut
get
this
Cook
out.
in here.
We got 74% left on that one.
Beautiful.
Okay, cool.
Look at that.
All right, cool. Yeah, say hi, Cook. We might do one at the house later. Who knows?
I love that.
But yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think you've really created something really cool with Endure. I was in Team Endure Athlete last year. I was probably I would probably go down in history as the worst Team Endure Athlete ever. I don't think I got on one call, maybe two. But I mean, that was a tough season of life for me, where I was just so burnt out athletically. Yeah. I couldn't race or anything. I just started to get back into it. But
let me interrupt for a sec and say that speaking of moments, there's an interesting story behind the photos from your bear crawl. I don't know if you want to get into that, but
Okay.
you know, with just the fact that you had access to them, you don't have access to all of them anymore.
Oh
But
yeah, that
yeah,
dilemma. Yeah.
but
Thanks. You know who you are.
I saved some of them before that happened. And there are a few photos. There's one of you on the Brooklyn Bridge. You put on the Project Endure shirt.
Yep.
I have my hand on your shoulder. That's a cool picture. There's one of me Theragunning your hamstring where you're just
Oh, yep.
you're
I know
on
exactly
on
what
the
you're talking about.
ground. Couple others, us hugging after you finished.
The one I have is of you. I'm kneeled down. You have your hand on my shoulder. It's raining out. It's a picture on my wall
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
room.
And like those pictures bring back emotions for me. And I told you this when we debriefed, but watching you, a grown man, in your early 20s, go through so much physical and mental suffering on purpose in just such a crazy way, and being able to be part of that experience was so special to me because it changed me and it changed all the people who got to experience that.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful. And I'll never forget that. And so thank you for that. And for all that you do, because honestly, on our calls every week, and this goes for a lot of clients, I get so much out of it and I look forward to it and I learn, and it's very deep and introspective. And sometimes it's not, and it's lighter and it's practical, but I just appreciate our friendship so much. And I'm so glad that we get to do this.
It means everything to me. It's like people have a therapist. Yeah, I have you. Like, you're my therapist, bro. Like, I've talked to you every week. I mean, we didn't talk this week, but I'm literally sitting with you here today. For 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, I vividly remember the first conversation we had. Like, I remember my ex-girlfriend at the time. Not rest in peace. She's not dead. She's not dead, but RIP to the relationship. She was on my bed, and I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm like, because I was so nervous. We went to the grocery store before. I'm like, I gotta talk to this random guy. My mom fucking put me in touch with him. I didn't know how to say no, so I'm just talking to him. And then Devin LeVake liked my reel at the time. I was like freaking out, but it says a lot about you in the fact that even though like the team Endure, like you've created such a special thing with Endure, and you just put a name to it, but like you are that brand, that it is you, that like even after I did the bear crawl and like I didn't want to do anything, you asked me to be a part of Team Endure, and like what you do every day and how you show up for everyone was enough for me to say, I don't know, I don't feel like doing this, but whatever Joe's doing, I want to be a part of. And that's with anything you do. And I think that's why you're like, this is only going to keep growing for you with the Endure stuff, is because like you are you, like you in the nicest way possible. Like you are the probably the most stable person I have in my life. Like you're just consistent in your life. Yeah. And like your schedule. Yeah. Consistency. You're very disciplined, but like, all that's like every week you're consistent as always. And you're such a consistent, you're consistent in the advice that you give, the way that you show up and everything. Like I know, okay, all right, what kind of response do I want? Okay, do I want somebody to tell me to go to war and beat this person up? I'm going to call Brendan. Do I need someone to be soft with me or whatever? I don't have a girlfriend now, but or someone in my life, I have that person. Okay, who do I want to tell me the truth and give me the real response and let me see the situation for as it is? That's always been you. And you will be that person for as long as I can, I know, until, unless I decide to go haywire tomorrow. But that's why I think you've built what you have and you'll continue to grow it. Is because like you're Joe. You're consistent as all hell.
Thank you, man. That might be the best compliment I can get. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm lacking the words, so I'm just running circles right now.
Well, I'll say this: last year at the Team Endure event and then the Project Endure event, there was a lot of media captured, and one of those pieces of media were the interviews that you guys did. Mm-hmm. And this year, I'm grateful to have you on the camera side of the interviews to capture some of those moments. But Nick, who was doing the interviews, asked a question to everybody that I didn't know he was going to ask. And it was something along the lines of, what does this mean to you? Or what do you want to say to Joe, or whatever it was? And I was watching it. He clipped it together. I didn't know he was going to send it to me. I didn't know it happened. And I'm pretty sure we could roll it back. I'm pretty sure you said he's like a dad to me. Something along those lines.
Seriously.
Yeah. And I cried right over here. Yeah.
That makes me happy. You are. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a great relationship with my father growing up. And who was I talking this about the other day? Oh, UFC fighter actually, because I said because I did that. I'm the worst with my phone. I don't answer really any of my text messages unless I really
I
want
could
to talk to you.
attest to that. Yeah.
And yeah, 'cause I don't know what it is about me. I don't know. But he was like, "Yo, why don't you?" He was like, "Why don't you answer my message?" And I was like, "Yo, I don't." I was like, and it was at the same time my father texted me, and I still haven't answered him to. So I hope he's not watching this because he's gonna be like, "Yo, this kid's really ducking me," which is terrible. I'm sorry to even admit this, but it's just who I am. But he was like, "Are you okay? It's not like you did not respond." That's what my dad said. So it was like the greatest testimonial to like, I was like, "Yo, look, I didn't even answer my dad." Like he said, it was on my Apple Watch. But my point being, he was like, "Yeah, I wish I had a relationship with my dad."
Mm.
And I said, "Yeah, I didn't talk to my dad for 12 years." But you look for people in your life when you don't go through that, and you look for you don't look for father figures, but you kind of gravitate towards people who have what you have, or act how you want to act. And I have a lot of people in my life that are father figures to me. And you're definitely one of them, which is why I think I said you were like 35 instead of 29, because
Yeah.
it's like 29 is too young to be a dad. But it's not actually, but you're like a father figure to me, definitely. And I'm very thankful for our friendship and our relationship. But yeah, man. So tomorrow or Saturday is
Yeah.
the event day. I guess we'll kick it. We'll leave it off with this. And obviously, if you have anything that you want to, a message you want to get across to everybody, I know. I mean, you have a lot of words of wisdom, but where do you see Indoor in a couple of years from now? Do you have like a 5-year plan? Like where does Joe Rinaldi want to go, and like what can we expect to see
Mm.
from you in the future?
Yeah, I mean, to go back to where I started with Project Endure, I had no idea what 3 years would look like. If I'm being honest, I don't know what 5 years from now looks like,
Mm.
almost at all.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think because it probably looks like on the surface from the outside that I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't. The idea of a gym space has popped into my mind. I love the idea of a physical location where people could gather, make it look how I want to look, feel how I want to feel. So that's, been in my mind. Do I make it bigger in scale with more coaches and help mentor them so that we can reach more people? That's entered my mind. Do I keep it how it is and keep it more or less a one-man show and, focus on growing a family? That's been on my mind. The one thing that I definitely want to happen is to be a dad. I'm 29. I feel like I've been ready for a while now.
I would agree with that probably.
But at the same time, it's scary, like, right? Having that added layer of being responsible for a human life and, what that does to me from a selflessness perspective. Like I do see myself as a selfless person a lot of times, but you see my schedule, how I operate. I can't do that with a kid. So that's something that I do want. I want to be a great dad within the next 5 years. And, that's going to be a challenge for me big time.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back on the podcast when you have kids.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be so curious to see when you don't have the same schedule. But yeah, that's been a theme that's been popped up in my life lately a lot. Is because like as you start to hang out with doing social media, you start to hang out with people who are obviously a little bit older. It's the people that kind of like can afford that kind of stuff. So you start to see these people who live kind of dual lifestyles. They're on camera, but they're also dealing with kids and they have a family and stuff. So it'd be very interesting to see kind of your perspective on life and how you show up day to day when you do have a kid, which would be cool. What do you think? You have a boy or girl first?
On record, I think I'll have a girl first.
All right, we're gonna have to replay this
Yeah.
footage.
And the one thing I'll say is, I can't say this for sure, but I can talk about my priorities all day long and like what I really want and what I want to be known for, remembered for. My biggest fear, which I think I've told to you, and I want to say this out loud because I hope it's relatable for some people. And I hope that I can continue to fight against this is that my biggest fear is that I will try to do so much for so many people and end up realizing that I neglected the people closest to me. That's my biggest fear. And that's my tendency. The obsessive, extreme, addictive tendency is to make Project Endure bigger and bigger and, you know, increase the reach and the impact and do all these things to one day have a conversation with my wife or my child or my friend and realize I wasn't there for them. That's my biggest fear. And I actively fight against that almost on a daily basis. I open up a can of worms here at the end. I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is something holy shit, we got to unpack this. I feel like this is like some of the best stuff.
Yeah.
How do you fight that on a daily basis though? Because I'll say this, and I have no right to even be saying this right now because I have not grown anything as big to what you have in terms of like a brand and you know, just a business. But I feel that same way too sometimes where I'm just like, yo, I feel I get so, because that's so relatable, and it's I would love to see how you kind of navigate that because I feel the same way, and it's the conversation that I have all the time where I feel like I have two personalities of I want to fucking conquer the world, and I'm like, well, I kind of just want to be a regular guy sometimes and just get a girlfriend and, you know, work a regular job and have a great relationship with my parents, or, you know, maybe go do things with my friends that they're doing that I can't do because I have all these things. How do you navigate? How do you fight it?
It's hard. You know, I think like people ask me like, what's your job? Or like, what do you do? You know, that comes up in conversation. You meet someone else, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like all the time. And the very American stereotypical response is you respond with your work, you know, like I'm a business owner, I'm a coach, I'm a whatever. And I've been trying to make a more conscious effort to not respond that way and to really pause and be intentional and talk about the fact that I'm a child of God. I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a son, etc. Because, you know, I'm really good at doing my job.
Yeah.
Like I've always been great at doing my job to a fault, right? Like I'm in school, straight A's, always. I got a B+ actually in middle school, and it haunts me to this day.
You got to go back and take the class again.
I do.
Sit in middle school with all those kids.
I do. It's public speaking actually, which I
really.
I know. Yeah, Mr. Altman. He didn't know what he was talking about though, so
We're gonna send this to him.
Yeah.
Change the grade, bro.
So but I was good at that, right? Like, you know, on the football field, I wasn't the most athletic or the fastest or the strongest, but I always did my job.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to Project Endure, do my job. So I try to reframe like, what do you do as not my job? Like this is it's a job and it's a way to impact other people, but my real job is to be there for the people closest to me. And I try to remind myself of that, because if I can just do my job and that's my job, I'll do a great job, no doubt.
Interesting. That's such a crazy way to look at it. I hope Michaela is he thinks I'm a job. He treats me as a job.
Yeah.
But she seems super supportive. Like
She is. Yeah.
I feel like she gets you, you know, which is cool. Cause like, I also feel like, you know, I think sometimes too, where I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have the best relationship with my friends. And sometimes I've lost a ton of relationships because I'm terrible at communicating and stuff. And I'm just like, you know what, like you said, you know, those who matter won't mind. And I think there's a truth to that where it's like, okay, the people in my life that really, really understand me will know this is what makes me happy, you know, and we'll make room for the fact that, you know what, maybe he's not a good communicator, but yo, when I really need him, he'll be there, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how I fight it. I don't know if you kind of think the same thing, but it's like, you've done a great job of getting people in your life that understand the type of person you are and are happy to see you thrive. But in terms of filling your bucket and making sure you can close your eyes at night and feel good, you want to make sure they get what they need to, you know, which I think is something that we all need to learn, especially myself in terms of dating women and relationships. It's like, yo, it's not all about me. You know, sometimes you got to not do what you want to do and, you know, bite the bullet and make people feel, you know, heard and cared about, but you do a great job of that, you know, like that's that's literally your job, is to make people feel heard.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, and I'll say this too, you know, with the event, you know, we ask people to RSVP and we get all these people who say, I'm going to come, I'm going to come, and I'm going to come. And inevitably what happens.
I knew he was going to laugh.
I love it. And some of them do. Some of them come.
Yeah.
Some of them don't, though. Some of them don't.
Some of them don't come. Their loss. Literally their loss.
Yeah. So that they miss out on all the joy and satisfaction of coming to the event. So, but my point is, right, all these people say they're going to be there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them do show up and some of them don't. And I had this conversation earlier this week, actually, with someone who I was really looking forward to being there. And they called and they had a significant life event. And they told me that they just couldn't justify leaving their home, leaving their wife, going through a really hard time to be there, and they were sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And my initial gut reaction was to be upset about it.
Yeah.
And very quickly I realized, like, that's what I would do, and this isn't about me, and that's their top priority, and I respect that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, people will understand that if they truly care about you. And like you said, if they don't get that, they probably don't belong in your life.
Legit. Yeah. I had a conversation with my dad about this the other day. We had a couple drinks in us, so I don't know if we necessarily remember, but it was the same thing where as you take a step back and like you said, like you put yourself in that guy's shoes. For a long time when I growing up, I was like, yo, whatever my dad is, I'm gonna be the opposite. I just can't be that man. And then you grow up and you realize, yo, fucking, you got bills to pay. You just got divorced. All this shit's going on. You got your new wife probably in your ear about, oh, you're still talking to your ex-wife, yada, yada, yada. And I said to him, I'm like, yo, I don't blame you, bro. Like, I can't, do I wish you made a different decision? Yeah, but I get it, bro. I understand now how hard it is for me to even fucking talk to my friends that I love and I want to talk to, that we hang out with all the time. I understand. I get it. There's so many factors in life that like, we just gotta, like you said, give each other grace. Like, it is. We're not perfect. This is our first time going, on this floating rock doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited for this weekend. I think we're gonna have a blast. I'm more so excited now, and like this is again a testament to what you're creating. Is like. It is true. Like you've created such a good community of people that even not just because of this event, but just because, okay, now we were all at this event, we met in passing, we follow each other on Instagram. And then a year later, whether I'm doing some work with some people or I have great relationships with people in your community that you probably don't even know about because like nobody tells you all of the times they're talking to each other. Yeah. You don't see it. No one's calling you saying, oh my God, I met this guy at your event and now I'm talking to him. But like you've connected so many people and like, I'm just more excited now because I feel like I don't want to say I'm established in the community, but I feel like I know more people than Cook does, and more people know me than know Cook in this community yet, and like, but you're creating a good community because more people are like the same people are coming back and then some, and it's really cool to see like. It's really cool to be at home and tell my friends like, oh, I'm going to Philly for an event. And they're like, an event? And I'm like, yeah, let's just all my boys are gonna hang out. We're gonna get together. We haven't seen each other in a while. And they're like, you have friends from social media? Yeah, I have friends from social media. But not a lot of people can say that. Yeah. But they're the godfather of Project Team Endure. Project Endure. I appreciate that. You're crushing it. So
thanks, man.
You want to leave people with anything? I mean, they could. You have a podcast. You're probably one of the better hosts out there. You ask so many good questions. So I don't know if you have your podcast, which is on Spotify and just everything.
Yeah, it's everywhere. I would say if anybody wanted to connect with me, social media is the best place. Yeah. Joe A. Rinaldi, because Joe Rinaldi's taken and I've tried to buy it from him and he refuses.
I've
given up. What'd you say?
You offered a number?
No, I didn't offer a number. I just kind of started the conversation. He's an older guy actually here in Philadelphia.
Oh, really?
Not related. Yeah. But
I feel like that's such a Philly thing. I don't know why.
I'll get it someday when he croaks. Yeah.
You got to make sure it's in his will. He's got to leave you his Instagram. Isn't that crazy? We live in a time now where it's like you
that's interesting.
You could leave your Instagram handle in a will. Like,
probably.
Hey, somebody has like millions of followers. I'm gonna leave my kid with this Instagram page.
Yeah. Wild. But yeah, Instagram's the best place. Joe A. Rinaldi. And I would genuinely love to talk to anybody. So reach out and we'll connect.
I will. He's not lying.
Yeah.
He will answer your message. I swear. Yeah. I won't. I probably won't answer your message. To the girl at the bakery, I'm sorry. I know she might be watching this. I didn't answer her. Some girl tried to get me to bring Brooklyn into the bakery, and I said, "Yo, this was Did I ever tell you about when I broke the computer? I broke the computer in the bakery. So I said to the girl, I said, "Yo, you think I broke a computer? If I bring her in here, the fucking whole bakery's gonna be upside down." She's a monster. But yeah, he will answer. I won't unless you're cute and single and a girl. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to this weekend, and I just thank you for everything. You're the man, and this is a great first episode. So, um, we'll definitely have you on again. When your kids
when I have my daughter.
when you have your daughter, yeah, she'll be here. And
So here.
yes.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. I've never closed out one of these podcasts, so this is my first time doing it. But yeah, make sure you're going to be watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. This probably won't be on Spotify or anything because I haven't done that yet. I don't even know how to do it. Hopefully, Joe can maybe help me after this weekend's over. That'll be our call on Wednesday. But yeah, subscribe, and I appreciate you guys tuning in.
Thanks, James.
Cool.